Hello everybody here in YouTube and of course to my channel. It's been a while that I did an English video, but here I am today in 2023, and in case if you haven't seen me, and as it's really in the beginning of the year, I wish you a Happy New Year. In this video today I want to show you how you can change a normal striped material into a really jazzy design. I'm going to show you how easy it is to totally ignore a stripe that you have, because I know for many of you it is a big challenge to try to get the stripes of a material really matching. It doesn't need to be matched, and if you totally ignore that, you can create your own style, your own design, and really make out of the pocket you might be putting on, which will exactly what I will show you now, a real cool jazzy own design for your trousers, because this pocket that I'm making is for a trouser, for the back pocket. So let's be surprised what's going to come out of this, and maybe you like it, and maybe you like to do this yourself as well. So let's get started. Here we go. First of all, I like to show you the material which I'm using. It is 97% cotton and 3% elastan. And that's what gives me the comfortable zone in the width of these trousers that I'm making. In the lengths, I don't have the elastic, but in the widths. And that is perfect for wearing. And you can see it's an uneven stripe which I got in here. Of course, you always have the possibility of cutting a pocket exactly in the form as your stripes are. So I just fold this back because I got this prepared here for my little dart, which I have to stitch in the back trousers here. And I got these 2 points here for the pocket. So you can see, as this is the official position where you should put the pocket on trousers, but if I put this on here, you can see it does not run with a stripe, because important when you cut your trousers, of course, is that on your actual bottom of the trousers, your stripe does go straight up and is really evenly in the middle. But of course, up here, it's not in the middle anymore if I put it in the position where officially I'm supposed to be putting it. So you have two possibilities. You can either straighten out the pocket and cut the pocket piece exactly as the stripes going here, or you can say no, I'll leave it in this position and I also cut my pattern exactly as my stripes running here now. Little hint, in case if you want to do this and leave it in the original position, then that is also not so difficult to do, but I do have in my English playlist already pockets where I show how to do this, but I just repeat it here for one moment. You take your pattern and you draw the lines you got in the material on your pattern on, because then it is easy to lie it exactly this pattern on top of your material. And now you know you got this very wide stripe here. The next wide stripe is here, and that means you can cut it exactly as needed if you lie this one on top of your material then in that position. But think about it, this other side could be slightly different, so you got to check it first. But that's only to give you the little hint about that as well. So, but I didn't want to make this pocket like that. I said I wanted jazzy design for these. So I take my original size pattern for the pocket. First of all, I straightened it out here, and I drew myself 2 other lines in here to make 3 parts out of this pocket. So here we go. I got my 3 parts first straightened out on the bottom. Here, this is my top, or this will be my top. And of course, when I cut one piece like that apart, I have to add my seam allowance again, which you can see I did, and I'll mark it on my pattern on. So I always know this pattern is including my seam allowance. Then you lie these 3 pieces exactly touching each other as if it's still one piece, the pattern, and put it on your material, cut all the way around, and then divide these lines in between. And now you can see, because of that, my pattern, which goes sideways now for this pocket fit exactly because I cut these afterwards. Now I decided, as for some of you it would be difficult again, to join these stripes here by sewing exactly on top of each other. Well, then all we have to do is add a little stripe the other way. So you choose which stripe do you want to use for having it sticking out in between the seams, which I did. I cut it to 3 centimeter widths and decided I want this white stripe to stick out. I ironed it over and stitched it on the edge here together, so this is lying perfectly for me to do the next job. And I also prepared for the top already a stripe to go against there as well. So now I took my prepared stripe, put the stripe that I want to be shown down, and stitched it 1 centimeter onto my piece, because that is my seam allowance, 1 centimeter. And you can see when I turn it over, I got about 5 millimeters of my white stripe still sticking out here. Now all I have to do is take my next piece, put it on edge, and so on this side, exactly down my seam that I have here, to get this perfect look on this side. And then even if you're not totally on top of this stripe, then it still looks correct and looks even. So we do this preparation for both our pockets, which we have to then continue. I cleaned off the inside edges now with my overlock, and I put the iron ones on top to have my stripes really lying nice and flat. And I can also, because of that, check again, are the lines all in position as I wanted them. Now I have to decide for my top which stripe I want to stitch on. As you can see, both sides would be different, as my stripes are all different as well. Alright, I decided I want this part to be shown, so I put right on top of each other. And now I have to be careful that my stripe also will not run sideways now. So you can actually check by looking underneath when you start your stitching. So lie it in one position in the beginning here and decide exactly where you're going to be sewing. Hold it under the machine, and now look on this end again to put the stripe in the same position again, and then it should more or less be correct, because it's better you go by the stripes and not on the edge of your cutting, because if it's a little bit uneven, like you can see on mine here, which also has to do something with the stretching material, but if you go by your lines, you will be accurate and correct. So you watch where your needle goes along on your stripe here, and that's also again a proof if you're going to be accurate there. The same on this side, so we check on this side here now, and that doesn't look too bad. Then I decide, okay, I can leave that. Now I take my lining, which I got prepared. It's not cut exactly to the size, it's a touch bigger, which I will sort out later. I put it on top of this edge, turn it around, and I stitch 1 centimeter across here now, while I will leave a hole in the middle to be able to turn this pocket around. Don't leave it too big and not too small. Alright, here we got our hole. Now we got this ironed over edge here. If you don't see it, then make yourself a little mark into it on both sides, so you know that's where you got to fold it over now. Right sides on right side. Now this seam I leave towards the top, while the bottom seam I put towards the bottom when I got the pocket turned inside out. So we start with our centimeter up here. We put our lining underneath in position. Now you can see it's a little bit too big, but that doesn't matter because I trim it later to the exact size as needed. So you have a look down here also on your stripe to be able to really get this as straight as possible. So follow the line by sewing. And if you have a stretchy material like I do have here, and you see it is pushing, then take a little pattern and stitch along that pattern and you will see nothing of your material will move. Now look underneath. We wanted to put this one downwards, this seam, while this one is upwards. And I also check that my line here is even again on this side. And I go all the way to the top. Now I trim my edges and my lining if necessary. Trim my corners a little bit so I can really nicely push them out so they're nice and square. And I turn this piece inside out through my hole that I have here and iron the pocket flat. Alright, so my two pockets are completely prepared to be stitched onto my part now here. But as you know, you usually have in trousers this dart. So if I would stitch my dart now in the form as it's supposed to be done by the pattern that you have, you will find that this could be looking a little bit messy again, how you will stitch your dart as it's supposed to be. So I don't want this, so I will change it a little bit. I will keep this point to where I have to stitch my dart to, but I will put it exactly with my design from my material for my stripe here. Therefore, all you have to do is measure the width of your dart on the top here, keep your point here on the bottom, and then halve this and make your dart new in this position where your stripe is. And that will make it look much more even, because you got enough design which you will do with your pocket. Because now all you have to do is mark your two parts for the pocket on the right side, which you can see here, and now put it in that position. And this will look much better than if you're trying all your best to maybe get your stripes here in line, if you would have cut it exactly with the stripe. Because if that's uneven, that looks much more messy, as if you're saying, no, I make my own design out of this and I make it totally different. Alright, so we go together to the sewing machine again. So before I stitch my pocket onto my trousers here, I first do my little dart. As mentioned, I will go to my mark down here where my dart ends, put it exactly in that position that I'm with my stripe, and I had a look before how deep my darts got to be made, and nice and flat I will stitch my dart here. Let it run out so you're really nice and narrow on the bottom. That's the best way, so it's slightly a curve towards the outside when you stitch your dart, because then your dart always nice light and flat without creating some funny bulky area down here. Alright, my marks are there, but I want to finish my pocket off. This little hole you left for turning the pocket inside out, you either stitch up with some little stitches, or when you stitch through here on the top, you can try to catch it, which usually is the best way and the easiest and fastest way. And again here I can make it easy on myself by using a pattern. First of all, it makes me stitch very straight and very even without the material being pushed to any side. And then you can see I also caught the inside, so my hole is here already closed. And now it's time to stitch it onto my back trousers here. My marks are there. I put it in the position as my pattern told me to. Starting on this corner without a back stitch, go into this corner where I just stitched through. You can put one pin in the opposite position so it doesn't move anymore. Now you turn it while your needle is stuck in the material, and you stitch a little triangle into here on about 7 millimeters there on the top, so that means you got about 2 or 3 stitches going across. Now you go exactly in your seam that you started there, and again, if you think something is pushing you down the material, then take a pattern which you should always have lying next to you on the sewing machine, and you stitch down. Now I take mine away because I want to just slightly push my lining back up, and if I would have a pin stuck in here now, I wouldn't be able to do this. And that is the reason why I take this one out right away, because I don't like to work with too many pins, because it enables me to do certain moves. Now here on the bottom we have many seams. That's why it's very helpful if you have your pattern for using to hold your material down, because it makes it so easy for you to stitch anything on top of each other. And you can see I just put it in position again, and I stitch up my pocket. And in this corner now we do our 2 or 3 stitches depending on how big you want to make this triangle, because you stitch back down here. When we look at it from the left side, then you can see your 2 triangles here, and your pocket is totally finished. And of course you can make now the other side hopefully exactly the same. Well, and now you can see the result. My 2 pockets for my trousers for the back are finished, and I hope very much I could give you a good idea to make it easier for yourself to work with stripes. Just think a little bit open and wild and jazzy, and then you will see you will like this result as well. I say goodbye for now, stay healthy, and keep looking into my playlist, please. You'll find many, many more pockets and other ideas for sewing if you click into my playlist with the English language. The German I know is not so easy for you to understand, but I do have enough videos in my English playlist. I wish you all the best. Goodbye for now. Tschüss.